Obina looked up at the king, then his eyes flickered to Adaeze for a brief moment. Adaeze could see he was frightened, but trying to be brave. In a clear voice he answered, "My name is Obina, your majesty. I meant no harm. I was just surprised by the announcement. I apologize if I offended you." He kept his head high, but Adaeze noticed he avoided giving too many details. Wisely, he had not mentioned his father's name or history. Perhaps King Odum did not recognize him. Adaeze prayed silently that her father wouldn't make the connection, that Obina was the son of Dike, the banished slave. "Surprised? Were you?" King Odum said with a sneer. "And why should a common villager be surprised at the news of a royal betrothal?" Obina opened his mouth but faltered. What could he say? That he loved the princess? That would be a death sentence. Utterly publicly like this. I was only startled, your majesty. The crowd was cheering and I tripped. Perhaps I cried out without realizing. It was an accident. King Odum narrowed his eyes. He did not seem fully convinced. The festival goers were whispering among themselves now. Adeze's heart hammered. She had to do something before this got worse. She quickly stepped forward to her father's side and spoke softly. "Father, it is the day of a festival. Maybe let this young man go with a warning. He looks harmless. There is no need for anger on a day of joy." She forced a gentle smile, praying her father would heed her and drop the matter. King Odum kept his gaze on Obina a moment longer, then said, "Very well. This is a day of peace, as you say." With a wave of hands, he signaled the guards, "Release him." Adaeze internally sighed with relief as the guards let go of Obina's arms. Obina bowed his head low, wisely staying silent. The king addressed the crowd loudly. "Let this be a lesson to all to conduct yourselves properly. Today is for celebration, not outbursts. Now, resume the festivities." The drummers hesitated, then slowly started up their rhythms again. The tension in the air eased as the masquerade playfully jumped to draw attention back to the entertainment. People gradually returned to clapping and laughing, though Adaeze could see many casting curious glances towards Obina as he slipped back into the crowd, rubbing his freed arms. Adeze's heart was aching now. She had seen the pain in Obina's eyes. Did he think she had agreed to this betrothal? Did he feel betrayed or hopeless? She needed to speak to him, to explain, but surrounded by so many and under her father's watchful gaze, she could do nothing at the moment. Prince Ifeanyi leaned towards Adaeze politely. He spoke in a low voice. "Are you all right, princess? That was unexpected." He seemed concerned for her, which was kind, but Adaeze could barely focus on him. "I am fine," she lied softly, "just a little overwhelmed." Prince Ifeanyi nodded, accepting that explanation. "I understand. This arrangement is important for both our kingdoms. I hope we can talk later and get to know each other under easier circumstances." He offered a gentle smile. Adaeze managed to nod in return, though her mind was far away with Obina. "Yes, perhaps," she said quietly. Queen Nneka was watching her daughter with concern. King Odum, however, had turned his attention back to hosting the Obododike guests. As if nothing were amiss. Inside, he was likely still irritated, but he hid it for diplomacy's sake. The festival's joyful energy gradually picked up again. But for Adaeze, the day had lost its shine. She wished above all to run to Obina, to tell him her heart was unchanged. She dared not, under so many eyes. But she formed a resolve. Somehow, tonight, she would find a way to meet Obina and talk, even if just for a few moments. As dancers twirled and drums boomed, Princess Adaeze sat with a polite smile plastered on her face. But inside, her thoughts raced like a river in flood. "I must see him. I must explain. I will not let my love be torn away so easily." That night, after the festival had ended and the villagers had gone home, the royal palace became quiet. Adaeze was supposed to be asleep in her chambers, but sleep was the last thing on her mind. She waited patiently until she was sure her parents and the household were resting. Then she rose from her bed and quietly changed out of her elaborate festival gown into a simple dark wrapper. She draped a plain cloak over herself. If anyone saw her in the corridors, she hoped they would mistake her for a maid or not see her at all in the shadows. Adeze's heart pounded as she crept out of the palace. A single guard dozed by the side gate that led out to the back gardens. She knew these grounds well and slipped past silently like a night breeze. Once outside the palace walls, she hurried along the moonlit path towards the outskirts of the village, towards the old Udala tree, her secret meeting place with Obinna. Earlier that evening, Adaeze had managed to send Chinyere with a whispered message to a trusted villager who knew Obinna. She begged him to tell Obinna to meet her under the Udala tree at midnight. She prayed that he got the message and that he would come. She needed to see him desperately. When Adaeze reached the tree, her breath caught in relief. Obinna was already there pacing. At the sight of her, he ran forward. They met under the wide branches of the tree, which were heavy with star-shaped Udala fruit and cast dancing leaf shadows in the moonlight. Ada, Obinna whispered, using the familiar short name he knew her by. But this time his voice was full of pain. Without another word, Adaeze fell into his arms and he held her tightly. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply held each other as if to make sure the other was real and safe. After a moment, Adaeze pulled back slightly to look at him. By the faint moonlight, she could see the worry on Obinna's face. "I'm so sorry about what happened today," she said in a hushed voice. "Are you hurt? Did they hurt you?" Obinna shook his head. "I'm fine. They just scared me a bit, that's all. I'm more worried about you." His eyes searched hers. "I heard the announcement that you are to marry Prince Ifeanyi. Ada, my heart nearly stopped when I heard it. I called out without thinking. I couldn't believe it." Adaeze pressed her forehead against his, tears gathering in her eyes. "I didn't know they would announce it today. I was going to tell you somehow, but it all happened so fast. Obinna, I've not agreed in my heart to anything. I didn't want to marry him. But your father, my father is forcing me." Adaeze whispered angrily. "He thinks marrying me to Ifeanyi will ensure peace with Obododike. But I don't love Ifeanyi. I love you." She touched Obinna's cheek gently. Obinna closed his eyes at her touch, then opened them with a determined look. "I love you too, Adaeze. You know I do. But what are we going to do? Your father will never allow us to be together. And now with this betrothal, if you refuse it, it could cause a war." Adaeze bit her lip. "I know. It feels like an impossible situation." She glanced up at the sky, where a few clouds drifted across the half moon. "If I run away, the peace treaty might fail and war could come. If I stay and obey, I lose you and my own happiness. Maybe you should run away." Obinna said quietly but firmly. "If we run away together, maybe to another land, beyond both kingdoms, we could be free from all this." The idea of leaving everything behind pained him, but he was ready to do it if it meant saving Adaeze from a forced marriage and himself from being harmed by the king's wrath. Adaeze looked into his eyes. The thought of abandoning her home and family was difficult, but being with Obinna was her deepest wish. "If that's the only way, I would," she admitted softly. "I will go anywhere with you, Obim. But leaving could also spark war. Father would blame Obododike or who knows what. He might send soldiers after us out of anger." "Your father," Obinna began, then hesitated. "Ada, there is something I need to tell you about my father, Dike. Something I didn't mention before." Adaeze listened intently as Obinna continued. My father was banished before I was born, but he told me his story. He was not originally from Uzochi. He was actually from Obododike. He was a young warrior captured in a battle long ago and enslaved here. King Odum kept him as a servant. My father eventually earned a bit of trust, working in the palace stables. But one day, there was an accusation that he stole a royal horse. He swore he never did it, and I believe him. Still, the king punished him, ordering him to be whipped. Rather than endure that humiliation, my father fought back in anger, and for that, King Odum declared him banished. Adese's eyes widened. She had not known these details. So, your father, Dike, was from the rival kingdom? Obinna nodded. Yes. He made his way back to Obododike after being banished, but he wasn't welcomed warmly there either. Some there saw him as a traitor for having served King Odum. He eventually settled in a small hamlet between the kingdoms. That is where I was born and raised. We live quietly, not fully accepted by either side. Adaeze felt a swell of sadness and compassion for Obinna's family. The wars and hatred had hurt them in such a personal way. No wonder my father would be furious if he knew who you are, she whispered. He would think you came here with ill intent or as a spy perhaps. Obinna sighed. That's why I never told anyone. I don't care about these kingdom's quarrels. I only know that I found someone I love here and I don't want to lose you. Adaeze held both his hands in hers. We must find a way, Obim. Maybe we can talk to my mother. Queen Nneka is gentle. If I explain to her that my heart is taken and that forcing this marriage will destroy me, perhaps she could convince my father to at least delay it or reconsider. Do you think she would agree to us? Obinna asked doubtfully. I'm not sure, Adaeze said, but I know she cares for my happiness. She might not openly defy father, but she could help in secret. Adaeze was willing to try anything at this point. They continued to speak in urgent whispers, making tentative plans. Adaeze would try to appeal to her mother the next day. If that failed, and if King Odum set a date for the wedding soon, then, as a last resort, Adaeze agreed she would run away with Obinna. They discussed where they might go, perhaps far to the west, beyond the Great River, where no one knew them. It was a frightening plan, but also a hopeful one because at least they would have each other. As they talked beneath the tree, a slight breeze picked up, rustling the leaves. The night felt alive and listening. Adaeze wondered if any unseen spirit were watching over them in this brave but dangerous moment. She remembered the whisper she thought she heard from the Ijele masquerade, "Follow your heart." It gave her a bit of courage. Suddenly, their quiet conversation was shattered by the sound of voices, angry voices, and the glare of torchlight. Over here, I saw someone by the tree, a voice shouted. Adaeze and Obinna jumped apart, hearts pounding. Through the dark, they saw several figures rushing towards them. In the flickering torchlight, Adaeze recognized the crimson robes and fierce face of her father. King Odum had a sword in his hand, and behind him was two of his personal guards carrying torches. Nneka was also there, trying to keep up, fear and worry on her face. Father, Adaeze exclaimed, terrified. She instinctively moved in front of Obinna as if to shield him. King Odum's eyes blazed in fury. Adaeze, so it's true. His voice was low and dangerous. I suspected something when that boy acted out today. And then, I found your bed empty tonight. He glared at Obinna over Adaeze's shoulder. So, you are the one who has ensnared my daughter's heart? The son of that wretched slave Dike? He spat on the ground, confirming that he indeed recognized or had inquired enough to know who Obinna was. Obinna opened his mouth to speak, while King Odum raised the sword threateningly. Silence. I did not give you leave to speak, peasant. Father, please, Adaeze cried, stepping closer to King Odum. Put down the sword. Queen Nneka arrived and reached for King Odum's arm. My husband. Calm yourself. We can talk. But King Odum shrugged her off angrily. Talk? There is nothing to talk about. Our daughter has been sneaking out to meet this low-born snake behind our backs. And now, I find them here in the dead of night, plotting who knows what. Perhaps he planned to abduct her. Perhaps this is a ploy by Obododike to shame us. His voice rose with each word, and Adaeze realized with horror that beyond his personal anger, he was thinking of this as a political betrayal. No, father, none of that is true, Adaeze protested. She reached out and gently but firmly pushed the sword in his hand downward, away from pointing at Obinna. Obinna did not ensnare me or trick me. We love each other. I came here of my own will. King Odum's face contorted with rage and disbelief. You love him? A commoner? The son of a slave? After all my efforts to arrange an honorable marriage for you and secure our kingdom's peace, you throw it away for this? Adaeze's eyes filled with tears, but she stood her ground. Father, I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt our kingdom, but I cannot help what my heart feels. Obinna is a good man, kind and brave. He loves me truly. Isn't that worth something? What of duty, Adaeze? The king roared. What of your duty to your people, to your family? You speak of love, but love does not put food on the table or protect our land from enemies. This foolishness of yours could ruin the alliance and bring war. Do you understand? He stepped forward, towering over Adaeze. Queen Nneka hovered at his back, her hands wringing, unsure how to calm him. Adaeze trembled, but held her arms out to keep her father back from Obinna. If war comes from my refusal to marry Prince Ifeanyi, that blame is not on Obinna or me. It is on those who would choose hatred over understanding. Father, please. You always taught me that the gods guide our fate. What if the gods brought Obinna and me together for a reason? Perhaps our union could bring a different kind of peace. King Odum backed a bitter laugh, cutting her off. You dare suggest the gods' favor when you are disobeying me? The gods would never smile on a princess degrading herself with a nobody. His face was red with anger in the torchlight. I will not allow it. I would rather burn this whole land than see our royal blood mixed with such low birth. Those words fell like a curse on the night air. Adaeze felt them like a blow. Obinna behind her lowered his head in hurt at the king's cruel statement. When Nneka gasped softly, my husband, do not say such things. But King Odum would not be suited. He snapped at his guards. Seize that wretch. The two guards advanced and roughly grabbed Obinna by the arms again. Adaeze cried out, trying to hold onto him, but one guard pulled her away gently, not wanting to hurt the princess. Obinna did not resist this time. He locked eyes with Adaeze, silently pleading for her to stay safe. Father, no. Please, father. Adaeze sobbed, reaching out toward Obinna as the guards held them apart. Don't hurt him. King Odum pointed his sword at Obinna's chest. You dare to touch my daughter? To steal her heart and dishonor me? Father, he did nothing wrong. We love each other. Adaeze cried. She struggled free of the guard holding her and fiercely moved between her father and Obinna, effectively placing herself in front of Obinna as a shield. She spread her arms. If you want to harm him, you will have to go through me, she declared, tears streaming down her face. For a brief moment, King Odum looked stunned. He had never seen his gentle daughter so defiant. His sword wavered slightly in his hand. "Adaeze, move aside," he growled, though less confident. Queen Nneka took the chance to speak, stepping beside Adaeze. "My husband, please. Think about what you are doing. This is our only child. She's miserable. Can't you see her heart is set? If you spill innocent blood here, our daughter may never forgive you, and the gods may not either." King Odum's jaw clenched. He was torn between fury and a father's love, and he was not used to feeling unsure. "He's not innocent," he muttered. But his sword, hand lowered a fraction more. Suddenly, a distant rumble of thunder echoed across the sky. Even though there were only thin clouds above, all of them paused, looking forward. A strange stillness fell over the night. Then a wind picked up, swirling leaves around their feet. The torches flickered wildly, and then with a hiss, the flames went out as if snuffled by invisible hands. Darkness enveloped them. But for the silvery moonlight, Adaeze felt a cool rush of air and sensed something powerful nearby. From the corner of her eye, at the edge of the clearing by the trees, she thought she saw a faint glowing figure. As if someone was standing there, battered in moonlight. She heard a whispering voice carrying on the wind, low and resonant. "Odum, my son, remember compassion." King Odum started, looking around for the source of the voice. "Who is there?" he shouted. The guards looked nervous. One stepped back, loosening his grip on Obinna. Adeze's breath caught as the glowing presence drifted closer. In the pale light, she could discern the shape of an elderly man with a dignified bearing. Although see-through and shimmering, his face had a familiar cast. He looked like King Odum, only older. Adaeze realized with amazement that this looked like the spirit of her grandfather, King Odum's own father, who had died many years before. She had seen paintings of the late king and recognized his features. The spirit spoke again, and though his mouth did not move visibly, the voice was clear to all of them. "Odum, you are blinded by pride. Do not sacrifice your daughter's happiness and the peace of the land for your stubbornness." King Odum's eyes were wide in shock and perhaps fear. "Father," he stammered at the apparition. "Is that you?" Beside Adaeze, Queen Nneka fell to her knees and bowed her head, whispering a prayer, for she too recognized the spirit and was in awe. Adaeze remained standing but felt tears of relief and wonder on her cheeks. The ghostly figure continued. "Long ago, I ruled this land with justice, and I made mistakes too, but I learned that a king who does not listen to his people or his family is a king who will lose everything. Heed this warning, my son. But God sent me to stop you from bringing ruin. Your daughter's love is pure. The boy is innocent. In fact, fate has intertwined with their love and a way to heal old wounds. Dike's blood and our blood, united, could end the hatred between Uzochi and Obododike at last, if you allow it." King Odum lowered his sword fully now, letting it drop into the dirt. Adaeze had never seen such a look of vulnerability on her father's face. He looked like a child being chastised. "But the alliance of Obododike, the war," he murmured. The spirit of his father replied, "Do you think forcing a marriage without love will truly secure peace? Peace built on hurt and lies will crumble, but a peace born of understanding, forgiveness, and true loyalty will endure. Show mercy now. That is the act of a great king." With that, the glowing figure slowly faded, the light dissipating into the night breeze. The leaves stopped rustling, and silence fell except for the distant crickets chirping. All present were in stunned silence. King Odum's sword lay forgotten on the ground. Adaeze dared to hope. She gently stepped forward to her father and softly said, "Father, please, I beg you, listen to grandfather's spirit. I love Obinna, he loves me. We never meant any harm. If you punish or kill him, I'll be heartbroken forever, and that sorrow will haunt this kingdom. But if you allow us to be together, we can find a way to keep peace. We will both work to make sure our people never suffer from war again. I swear it. Obinna, finally released completely by the guards, who were now trembling from what they witnessed, walked up and knelt in front of King Odum. "Your Majesty," he said, his voice respectful but passionate, "I have nothing to offer but my devotion. I am not of noble birth, but I promise I'll protect and cherish your daughter with my life. I do not seek to dishonor you or your kingdom. I only seek her happiness and mine. If our marriage could somehow bring an end to old grudges, I would devote myself to that cause as well." Queen Nneka added in a gentle voice, "My husband, fate is speaking. Our ancestors are guiding us. Let us not fight it. Our daughter lives only once. Let her live with love in her life." She placed a hand on his shoulder. King Odum was breathing hard, his mind clearly racing. He looked at Adaeze, her face full of hope and fear, at Obinna kneeling honestly, at his wife's pleading eyes. The anger and certainty in his face slowly gave way to pain and then exhaustion. He seemed to age years in that moment. As the weight of what he almost did fell on him, finally, with a great sigh, he closed his eyes and nodded slightly. "Stand up, boy," he said to Obinna, not unkindly. Obinna rose to his feet, keeping his head bowed. The king looked at Adaeze, tears glistening in his own eyes now. "My daughter, Adaeze, I have been harsh. I thought I was doing what was best for our kingdom. I still fear what may come, but..." He paused, swallowing hard. "Oh, I cannot ignore what I just saw and heard. The ancestors would not have intervened if this were not important." He let out a raged breath. Perhaps I have been wrong." Adaeze felt a surge of cautious joy. "Father, does that mean..." She dared not finish the question. King Odum teetered his pride as he would a sword. In a weary voice, he said, "I will not harm Obinna, and I will consider what to do about this betrothal. I would rather find another way to keep peace than to lose my daughter forever." Adaeze let out a cry of relief and threw her arms around her father. "Oh, father, thank you, thank you." King Odum gently embraced her back, a tear rolling down his cheek as he realized how close he came to losing her trust and love. Obinna stepped closer and bowed deeply. "Thank you, your Majesty. You will not regret showing mercy." King Odum eyed him with a stern but softer expression. "You realize, boy, that this will not be simple. There are consequences I must manage. The king of Obododike will need to be informed and appeased for a broken betrothal. But I will handle that." He straightened up, some of his authoritative air returning. "For now, we'll keep this matter private until I speak with my council in the morning. You, Obinna, will stay in the guest hut under guard for your own protection as much as anything else, so no one harms you. And Adaeze, you'll return to the palace with your mother. We will talk more at dawn." Adaeze nodded eagerly, her eyes still shining with tears, but now of happiness. Queen Nneka came and put an arm around her, smiling gently through her own tears. "One last thing," King Odum said, placing a hand on Obinna's shoulder briefly. "Your father, Dike, if he leaves, I will consider pardoning him formally. What happened in the past, perhaps I was too quick to judge then as well." Obinna's eyes widened. "He's alive, your Majesty, though aging. To hear of a pardon, it would mend his heart, thank you." King Odum simply nodded. There was much healing to be done. Turning, he picked up his sword from the ground and then silently led the way back towards the palace. His guards flanking Obinna gently this time, not as captors, but almost as escorts. Adaeze walked beside her mother, holding Obinna's hand discreetly for a moment in the darkness, sharing a glance full of gratitude and love. Their path was lit by the moon, which now shone clear and bright, as if the heavens we are blessing the new understanding forged on this midnight encounter. A few weeks later, the kingdom of Uzochi witnessed a celebration unlike any other. Word had spread carefully among the people. The planned marriage between Princess Adaeze and Prince Ifeanyi of Obododike had been respectfully cancelled by mutual agreement. There will be no war. King Odum has sent generous gifts and envoys to Obododike, explaining that Adeze's heart belonged elsewhere. And surprisingly, the response had been understanding. It turned out that Prince Ifeanyi, while initially surprised, accepted the decision with grace. He had no wish to marry someone who did not love him. Instead, the two kingdoms decided to sign a pact of friendship and trade, swearing peace without a marriage binding them. It was a bold move, but both sides were wary of war and willing to give genuine peace a chance. King Odum, true to his word, had also officially pardoned Dike, Obinna's father. The old man was brought to Uzochi with honor, no longer living in exile. When Dike arrived, King Odum met him in the palace courtyard and in front of the council of elders, apologized for the harsh punishment years ago. It was a moving movement. As the two men clasped hands, Dike, with tears in his eyes, accepted the apology humbly. The burden of shame and bitterness he had carried for so long seemed to lift. This act of reconciliation further amended the rift between the kingdoms. Since Dike's banishment had been a lingering sore point, and now the village square of Uzochi was decorated once again with bright clothes and flowers. But this time, it was not a harvest festival, it was a wedding celebration. Princess Adaeze, dressed in beautiful traditional bridal attire, stood under the same great Iroko tree where the New Yam festival had taken place. She wore a shimmering white blouse and a rich blue and gold patterned wrapper around her waist. A veil of delicate lace hung from a coral beaded headpiece, framing her smiling face. Her wrists were adorned with ivory bracelets that had belonged to her grandmother, and around her neck, she wore a new necklace of polished beads given by her father as a wedding gift. Beside Adaeze stood Obinna, wearing a fine tunic of deep green with gold accent. He too wore a string of beads over his shoulder and a red cap given to him by the elders, a sign that though he was not born noble in Uzochi, he was being welcomed and honored as a worthy man. Obinna's face glowed with happiness and a touch of awe. It was hard to believe that just weeks ago he had been resigned to being a fugitive or worse, and now he was about to marry the love of his life with the blessing of a king. King Odum and Queen Nneka stood close by, acting not just as monarchs, but as proud parents. King Odum had a calm, thoughtful expression. He had changed in these past weeks. He smiled more often, especially when he saw Adaeze and Obinna together. He was clear to all that he loved his daughter dearly and had come to accept her choice. Queen Nneka was radiant with joy, busy overseeing the final preparations and making sure everything was perfect. The wedding followed both Uzochi and Obododike's customs to symbolize unity. Elders from Obododike had also come, including Prince Ifeanyi himself, who stood respectfully among the guests, smiling with genuine goodwill. In one part of the ceremony, Adaeze carried a wooden cup of palm wine across to Obinna as per tradition. Her hands trembled slightly with excitement as she offered the cup to him. This was a symbolic act in Igbo custom, where the bride identifies her groom among the crowd and gives him wine to drink, showing she accepts him. Obinna took the cup with a warm smile and drank from it, sealing their union in the eyes of all present. The crowd of family and villagers cheered. After vows were exchanged, the elders gave their blessings. Dike placed his hand on his son's shoulder proudly. Chinyere, standing near Adaeze, wiped happy tears from her eyes. Even some of the guards who had once dragged Obinna now congratulated him heartily. It felt as though two worlds were coming together, the royal and the common, Uzochi and Obododike, in harmony. When the officiating elder declared Adaeze and Obinna officially married, a great cheer went up. Musicians began to play joyful music. Dancers, including masquerades like Adama in her colorful attire, performed in celebration, swirling around the newlywed couple. Adaeze laughed in delight as Obinna joined in a dance, his steps lively and free. As the celebration continued, King Odum raised his staff for attention briefly. In a clear voice, he addressed the people. Today, we witness not just the marriage of two young ones in love, but the marriage of different parts of our society. We are all one people, whether high or low, from this village or another land. Let this day mark a new dawn of peace and unity for Uzochi and our neighbors. May the ancestors bless Adaeze and Obinna, and bless all of us with understanding and goodwill. The villagers clapped and shouted in agreement. Adaeze felt tears of joy on her cheeks. She reached out and held her father's hand for a moment. "Thank you, father," she whispered, and he squeezed her hand gently in reply, his eyes warm. Under the fading afternoon sun, Adaeze and Obinna walked together through the crowd, receiving congratulations and gifts. Children danced around them, and elders uttered prayers for their prosperity and many children of their own someday. At one point, Obinna pointed towards a certain old Udala tree visible just beyond the square. "Look," he murmured to Adaeze. There, in the branches, sat a large white dove. The bird called softly and then flew upwards into the sky together with another dove that appeared. Adaeze smiled, taking it as another gentle sign. Perhaps the spirits of their ancestors sharing in their joy. As evening approached, lanterns were lit, and the festivities carried on under the starry sky. Adaeze rested her head on Obinna's shoulder as they watched a circle of dancers. She felt contentment and hope swelling in her chest. They had overcome so many obstacles. Their love had not only survived, but also helped bring about healing between two kingdoms. "This truly is a new dawn," Obinna said softly to her, echoing King Odum's words. Adaeze nodded. "And we will face it together," she replied. Their fingers intertwined, and they gazed at each other with love. Around them, the celebration of unity and peace continued long into the night, marking the start of a hopeful future for the kingdom of Uzochi and all who lived there. This story teaches us that true love sees beyond social status, and that judging people by their background can destroy happiness and peace. It shows that pride and stubbornness, especially in leadership, can lead to destruction, but humility and listening, especially to the wisdom of elders and ancestors, can bring healing. The story reminds us that forgiveness is powerful and can mend broken relationships, even between warring kingdoms. Adeze's courage to speak up for what she believed in, and King Odum's eventual willingness to let go of his anger, prove that standing for truth and choosing love over pride can change the course of a people's future. Most importantly, it teaches that real peace is not built through force or fear, but through understanding, compassion, and the bravery to do what is right, even when the whole world stands against you. Thank you so much for watching this amazing story about Princess Adaeze and Obinna on African Stories by V. If you liked it and felt inspired with their journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories by V, and do not forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.